My name is Sharon Hanek, and that is spelled H-A-N-E-K. And doesn't matter if you can see me or not from down there, but I think I have to stand this close. Okay. As of 2 weeks ago, I filed as a candidate for the office of State Treasurer. In stepping forward to this position, I remembered a devotional I once read. God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. And tonight we have with us accountants like me, lawyers, doctors, construction workers, and farmers, all being called. And each one of us has a story to tell of the journey of how we got to be where we are here tonight. For me, the journey started when I was in college. And I use that as a starting point because that was when I chose the profession to become an accountant. But then accounting wasn't just good enough to be a bookkeeper or something. I was in that time, that era, where the women's movement was there and the women could do anything with their life. So I became a CPA and entered the man's world. At that time, there were very few women that had entered that profession. I started my own practice and was on my way to having my CPA firm and had a couple of employees. And then the life took the turn. By that I mean, first I had children, 3 wonderful children, one of who's here tonight. But the other turn is that for many women, some men, but I see a burden of a lot of my friends having to take care of their mother or their father. And in my case, it was my mother who had a disease similar to Lou Gehrig's disease. That is where you cannot move, you're in a wheelchair, you can't eat, you can't feed yourself, but your mind is alert. And because of that, our family chose to take care of Mom at home, where we can nurture her and know that she is part of the family. As a result of that, I didn't have any more work to do, and I had to let my CPA license lapse because I couldn't pay for continuing education and all the other licensing programs, something of which I hope to reinstate once I become state treasurer. And if I do reinstate, I will be the first CPA ever to hold that office of Chief Financial Officer of Washington State. The other thing that happens as life goes on this journey, I restarted my business, this time as an accounting and tax firm. I represented my clients before the Department of Revenue, the Labor and Industries, Employment Security. I understand tax laws, I understand IRS, I understand revenue laws, which is part of the job of being a state treasurer, securing the revenue flow. But then the other thing that happens as I restarted my business is having an interest in politics. And with the interest in politics came a passion for understanding what's in the classroom. And many people here have talked about the education system. I started researching what was in the education system, including a summer auditing the bookkeeping system of the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, learning the state government accounting system, because there are some problems with that system. And then I started going out and discussing the things that I was finding out, the New Age influence in public education. I started then going out and understanding the New Age and pagan influences in the legislation, especially property rights issues, and talking to legislators. It was scary at first, because after all, these legislators, first they're big and they're tall and they're senators, they have this title. But that was when the verse came to me that I'm going to send you out and you're going to be as harmless as doves and as wise as serpents. Now, if you read that verse in Matthew, you'll go on and it'll say that God will put words in your mouth. What you have to remember, if you're going to take that in your heart as your verse, in between it says, they will flog you. So that's the part I don't like to think about. But God is trying to raise soldiers. Too many of us are saints. I was a saint. I thought I was a good Christian. I went to church. I sent my kids to Bible classes and did all the right things. It was if I was at a football game, and when they said do the wave, I did the wave. When they said clap, I did the clap, I cheered. And then in November of 2003, God said, come on down. You're going to join my playing field. And And that was a transition in my life when I started going out and teaching others about the things that I was seeing, the pagan influence in education, talking to legislatures, and then going, but that was part of my qualifications, of training me to learn how to not be afraid to speak. I am an accountant at heart. I like sitting in the back room with my calculator. I don't like going out and making speeches. But that is something that as a politician, and I guess that's what I am right now, that you must learn to do. And I just say, for those of you who say, I can't do that, I want to say to you, yes, you can. Because when God taps you on the shoulder, He will qualify you. And maybe in 2 years from now, one of you will be up here, and one of you will be stepping out. As I travel around the state, one of the things that I've learned is that I would go to a meeting all on my own dime. I would travel across the state of Washington, Forks, Washington, all the Walla Walla, Newport, that's up in the upper right-hand corner. And sometimes I'd show up, and it would be possibly, one could call it, disappointing. You have this room full of chairs and a lot of empty seats. I showed up at a meeting and only 5 people were there. We expected 30, 40 at least, but only 5 people were there. So I go to Forks, Washington on my own dime to talk to the only 5 people who were not vampires and tell them about the New Age influence in education. What I realized today as I run a statewide campaign, I simply went out and called every location that I ever spoke to, and I said, I need your help. And many of you may have known me as Research Mom. Well, Research Mom has become States Mom. And so today, I am asking you for your vote as a write-in candidate. And that means in order to make it to the general election, I do need 15,000 votes. I did the math, I think it's doable, but I cannot do it without you. It is teamwork. We have a money that says, in God we trust. I think it's about time that we put a treasure in the state of Washington that trusts in God. Thank you.